The front door was wide open. My heart dropped before I even stepped inside. I had only been gone for 2 hours, attending my church's Saturday charity breakfast. I still held the small container of homemade peach cobbler I'd promised to share with my grandson later that evening. But the second I crossed the doorway, I knew something was terribly wrong. Furniture had been moved. Family photos were missing from the hallway. I heard laughter upstairs, in my bedroom. Then I heard my nephew's wife say something that made my blood run cold. She'll get used to the guest room. At her age, she doesn't need the master bedroom anyway. I stood frozen. The strange part wasn't that they were inside my house. The shocking part was that they acted like I no longer owned it. My name is Eleanor Brooks, and I'm 74 years old. I've lived in the same white farmhouse outside Columbus, Ohio, for nearly 40 years. My late husband, Daniel, and I bought it when our daughter was still in elementary school. Every wall carried memories. Every room held a piece of our family's history. After Daniel passed 8 years earlier, the house became my comfort. I kept the garden alive because he loved roses. I still baked his favorite apple pie every Thanksgiving. Living alone wasn't always easy, but it was peaceful. My nephew Ryan had been struggling financially after losing his job. His wife, Melissa, often complained online about how expensive everything had become. I felt sorry for them. A month earlier, I had invited them to stay in my finished basement for a few weeks while they got back on their feet. The agreement was simple. The basement. Nothing more. I never imagined kindness would be mistaken for surrender. As I quietly walked upstairs, I saw moving boxes stacked outside my bedroom. Melissa stepped out carrying one of my sweaters. She smiled as if everything were perfectly normal. "Oh, you're home early." I stared at her. "Why are you holding my clothes?" She laughed softly. "We're just organizing things." I looked past her. My bed had been replaced with theirs. My husband's old rocking chair was shoved into the hallway. Family photographs were piled carelessly on the floor. Ryan walked out behind her. We figured this room made more sense for us. I blinked. "What do you mean, you figured?" He folded his arms. "You don't need all this space, Aunt Eleanor." For a few seconds, I honestly wondered if this was some strange joke. Then Melissa pointed toward the small guest room at the end of the hall. "We cleaned that room for you. It's cozy." Cozy. The room barely fit a twin bed. They had packed up 40 years of memories without asking me. I took a slow breath. "I want my room back." Ryan sighed dramatically. "You're overreacting." Those 3 words hurt more than I expected. I wasn't yelling, I wasn't crying, I simply repeated myself. "This is my house." Melissa rolled her eyes. "We're family." As though that explained everything. I walked downstairs without another word. They smiled, believing the conversation was over. It had only just begun. That evening, I called my daughter, Claire. She lived about an hour away. The second she answered, she knew something was wrong. "Mom, what happened?" I explained everything as calmly as I could. There was silence. Then she asked one question. "Did you give them permission?" "No." "I'm coming." She arrived before sunset. The moment she saw my belongings piled into the guest room, her expression changed. She walked straight upstairs. Ryan looked annoyed. What now? Claire spoke quietly. "You have 10 minutes to put everything back where it belongs." Melissa laughed. "Or what?" Claire smiled. "You'll find out." Ryan stepped closer. "Don't threaten us." Claire pulled out her phone. "I'm not threatening anyone." She simply made one call. At first, Ryan looked confident. Then he heard who she was speaking to. It wasn't the police. It was a lawyer. Our family's attorney had handled legal matters for decades, including Daniel's estate. Within 20 minutes, he arrived. He greeted me warmly before asking Ryan one simple question. "Do you have any written permission giving you control over this property?" Ryan hesitated. "No." "Do you have a lease?" "No." "Any ownership documents?" No. The lawyer nodded. Then legally, you cannot claim any room in this home. Melissa suddenly interrupted. But we're relatives. He looked directly at her. Being related doesn't transfer ownership. The confidence disappeared from both of their faces. Still, they refused to move. That's when something unexpected happened. My next-door neighbor, Mr. Harris, knocked on the door. He wasn't there to gossip. He quietly handed Claire a flash drive. I figured you might need this. Claire looked confused. What is it? My security cameras. Apparently, his driveway camera overlooked part of my property. The footage clearly showed Ryan and Melissa bringing a moving truck while I was away that morning. You could even hear Melissa saying, "Hurry before she gets back." There was no misunderstanding, no innocent mistake. They had planned everything. Ryan's face turned pale. Melissa stopped talking altogether. The lawyer watched the video once. Then he looked at them. I strongly suggest you return every item exactly where it belongs. For the next 2 hours, nobody argued. Boxes went back, pictures returned to the walls, Daniel's rocking chair sat beside the bedroom window again. I watched quietly from the hallway, not because I enjoyed seeing them embarrassed, because I finally understood something. People often mistake kindness for weakness. I had spent my whole life trying to avoid conflict, but protecting your boundaries isn't cruelty, it's self-respect. When everything was back in place, Ryan walked downstairs carrying his final suitcase. He stopped near the front door. I thought you'd understand. I answered honestly. I would have if you had asked. He looked down. For the first time all day, he had nothing to say. Melissa never apologized. She simply walked outside. Their moving truck disappeared before sunset. The house became quiet again. I thought the story ended there. It hadn't. 3 days later, Ryan returned alone. He looked exhausted, older somehow. He held a small cardboard box. I found these in our things. Inside were old family photographs I'd believed were lost years earlier. There was also Daniel's pocket watch. Ryan swallowed hard. I'm sorry. Not the kind of apology people give because they get caught, the kind that sounds painful to say. I looked at him for a long moment. I do love you. He nodded. I know. But love without respect doesn't last. He wiped his eyes. I understand now. I invited him inside for coffee, not because everything was magically fixed. Trust doesn't return that quickly. But real change deserves the chance to grow. Over the following months, Ryan rebuilt his life. He found another job, rented a small apartment, visited only after calling first. Sometimes we'd laugh about old family memories. Sometimes we'd sit in silence. Slowly, respect returned before closeness did. Melissa chose a different path. She never contacted me again. Oddly enough, I wasn't angry anymore. Some relationships end so others can become healthier. The roses Daniel planted bloomed beautifully that spring. Every morning I'd sit beside the bedroom window in his old rocking chair, watching the sunlight fill the garden. The room wasn't valuable because it was the biggest room in the house. It mattered because it held a lifetime of memories, and memories deserve protection. Looking back, I don't think the hardest part was watching someone move my belongings. The hardest part was realizing that people I trusted believed my silence meant permission. It never did. If this story reminds us of anything, it's that kindness should never require giving away your dignity. Helping family is generous, but healthy boundaries protect both love and respect. I'm curious, if you came home and discovered someone had crossed a line like this without asking, what would you have done?